to Mobile Local Search on the Cutting Edge. I'm Mike Boland. I'm an analyst with BI Kelsey, and I'm excited about this session. This topic has come up over the last day and a half a lot. We heard Chris Spanos at Urgently yesterday talk about how search, as we know it, or as we know it over the last decade, is very one-dimensional compared to where it's going, and particularly as things shift mobile. So mobile query volume on, search query volume on the mobile device is now up to about 1/3 of total queries. And that has a lot of implications for user intent, as that's different in mobile. The granularity of the search terms themselves. And other things such as, the way that content, search results, and even ads have to be kind of delivered with, different screen real estate. So lots of different ways that that's transforming. We have the Bing Ads team here. Bing is doing a lot of interesting things. Their actual market share of mobile searches is steadily rising, and these guys are doing very interesting things with the innovation around the ad units themselves, which we're going to get into. So why don't we start by having you guys each introduce yourselves and talk about your roles at Bing.
Sure. My name is Ken Weil. I work for Microsoft, obviously. I've been with the company for about 8 years, always in the SMB space, so I've always worked in the advertising group and focused very closely on that small and mid-size customer. My team actually is global, and they run all sales, service, and then the back end kind of function when you think about quality of ads and how we run our ads. And so I have it kind of end-to-end for the global search business.
Excellent. Kelly?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Kelly Thomas Nojim, and I work for Ken. I'm actually running the SMB channel partner team. And so I kind of been at Microsoft for about 8 years. I've been in search for over 15 years, and I've worked with various types of customers, but SMBs are my passion, so I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for
Sure. We actually joined Microsoft at the same time, and when we joined, search was about this much of a thought in Microsoft. So we joined at a really interesting place. No one would listen to us at that time. But
they also
now we're here.
They also coordinate each other's
outfits. We also we have our Cortana t-shirts on.
So we'll start at a high level, and we have some interesting kind of visuals around some of the stuff you guys are offering in terms of ad units and extensions. But to start off, what are the kind of aspects of user behavior and cultural trends and technological trends that you guys are viewing and positioning kind of the mobile strategy overall, or I guess I should say, what's Microsoft and Bing by association's kind of overall philosophy on mobile product development and how you're positioning yourself in the mobile world?
Yeah, wow, it's a big question. I think if I started, it's really around, we think mobile/search is really moving from going to a box and typing in a word and finding info to actually finding knowledge that makes you move on to action.
Yep.
And so when you think about it, I think about it in simple terms. It's like really proactive. You want it to be proactive. You want it to be personal, so you want it to know you. And then you want it to have like natural implications. And so an example of that, for example, knowing or being personalized, Cortana knows me, and so when I wake up in the morning, it knows what I'm all about.
Right.
Kind of creepy, but kind of cool at the same time. It knows where I work, it knows where my kids go to school, it knows where my office is, and it knows where I'm going throughout my day, so it can make my life easier from an action-based. When you think about predicting what I might need to do. So I got up this morning to leave for San Francisco, and my phone first said, Cortana told me that traffic is bad, Ken, so you might take this route versus that route. It mapped it out, and it said, oh, by the way, we know you like Starbucks, and there's a Starbucks on the way. And then when you think about getting a little bit more personal on kind of that natural basis, it's around building a relationship with search. And I know that sounds a bit science fiction creepy as well, but I can start having a conversation with her, and she knows me, and she knows what I'm going to do and where I'm going. And so, for example, I can ask her about a restaurant, and then I can continue the query, so it's a trail, and I can go on, where's it located? Are they open on Sundays?
Yep.
What's their menu? And so it follows through my whole dialogue versus me starting over every time with a new kind of search, if you will.
And that resonates in a world where, smaller keyboards, active search as we know it, is changing. So having it be more predictive and push-based is a good way to put it, probably. And knowing you and pushing things that kind of in a predictive way that's relevant.
Yeah. And we're not typing anymore. We're going to a map and swiping and navigating it and searching that way. We are going to social and finding out via social. At Microsoft, we have great stuff in the lab now where by gesture it can start picking up. We can actually start drawing images on a device. So for example, two circle, and it will start picking that up and actually predicting where you're going and start giving you search on bicycles.
Right.
So it's taking a whole new form from where we've seen it over the last 5 years.
Yeah, and as Ken mentioned before, coming to Microsoft 8 years ago, where search wasn't even really a thought, now having it integrated basically as a foundation for things such as Cortana and Xbox, it's just so amazing, and it's a great time to be at the company where search is really starting to power all the different services and devices that we have.
Sure, and it's a different form of search. I mean, earlier I used query volume as a metric, and it's almost not even about query volume because it's not about searches done throughout the day, but it's pervasively not searching but pushing you things. So it's almost like the opportunities to push things to people, and therefore the ad inventory, using kind of the terminology again in kind of the search world where ads were put against queries.
Yeah.
The ad inventory, when it's more pervasive, probably opens up a lot of interesting opportunities.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of that too, it's an interesting kind of higher level concept that people always looked at Apple in some of its advantages in mobile as having the vertical integration of having the software in the operating system and the hardware designed under the same roof. And Microsoft's traditional positioning has been somewhat different to that on the desktop, in that it was software which was then applied by other hardware manufacturers. But that's interesting because in mobile, it seems like Microsoft is moving more towards that vertical integration and some of the advantages that are inherent in that, because you have Windows Phone as an operating system, and then the assets of Nokia, for some pretty solid hardware with that kind of vertical integration, holistic design. But then a third leg of that stool, which is Bing. And that's something Apple does not have, which is the search asset.
Yeah.
So with that vertical integration picture, how does that position Bing to be a more kind of elegant tool?
Well, I think Kelly mentioned it. It's truly, if Satya, our new CEO, he actually, lucky for us, he came from the Bing team, so he gets it. But we're weaving Bing through everything we do, all of our devices, Skype, everything you can think of through Microsoft, Bing is woven through it now. And it actually is I would say a strategic weapon when you think about what we can do with that and how we can manipulate that across all those devices.
Yeah, and just a real quick tactical example is if you actually looked at a Windows Phone, and I don't know how many here actually have, but if you look at a Windows Phone, on it there's a little magnifying glass, which is search, and you click on it, you could search really quickly. It's amazing that you can just get there really quick. It leverages, it is Bing, and so we're just able to really reach out to people, and not a lot of tactical.
It's that on-deck positioning, using the kind of the cadence of an older time, but that on-deck positioning just of the search
and
itself.
searching throughout everything you have. So it searches across your devices, it searches in your hardware, like you said, it searches
not just
outside, it pulls in. And so think about it, like I was at a conference the other day in Irvine around education, and I had the room lit up from when you think about what this can do for just bringing it into the educational realm and how you start training and teaching with Bing as a means to do so. It was pretty powerful as you go across Microsoft apps.
So let's jump into some of the things you guys are doing kind of on the ad front. Everything that has been so far technology and usage, but in terms of the ad models that follow behind that, I think it's interesting what you guys are doing. There must be some animation here. There we go, because it wasn't all there. So this is interesting. We're going to go through some of your extensions, and for those of you who don't know, extensions are essentially different components of ad units that add different things like calls to action, and calls to action that cast a wide net in terms of their applicability. Businesses that might want phone calls or app downloads. So we're going to drill down into each one of these, but at the front end, anything you guys want to add about the kind of strategy here?
No, the one thing I do want to mention quickly, though, as a partner or an advertiser, if you want to leverage any of these types of extensions and you are leveraging a tool provider, you need to make sure that tool provider is actually coded to these extensions that we have, because we're coming out with things so quickly. Obviously our partners need to code to it very quickly as well. So you want to make sure you can take full advantage of
Makes
these
sense.
offers.
That's good disclaimer at the front end. So first we have, actually, before we go into those individual ones, this is a slide about some of the effectiveness when these extensions, or many of them at once, are utilized. So unpack this a bit in terms of, I assume this is an eye tracking study.
Yeah, so here you can see we've got quite a few extensions on this one ad. If you look at the box, so that's the ad itself. What we found is that obviously the more real estate you have on the page, and especially because it's a small page, because it's on a phone screen, the more likely you're going to get folks to actually look at what you're trying to get in front of them. And so with the extensions, not only are you drawing people's eyes there, but you're allowing them to see what you offer. And so you're not going to get those, ideally, you're not going to get those random clicks. They're actually going to be much more educated as a consumer to see quickly if you have what they want. And if they don't see it, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yep. I think what's interesting here, too, is Kelly and I were having this conversation on the way down. On the PC, and I think you're starting to see it in mobile, extensions just become more real estate. And so it makes your ad richer. And we've done some study on the PC where, for example, site links are just deep links into whatever you would like it to be, shoes or coats or something if you're retail. A lot of times, the consumer doesn't actually click on those site links.
Sure.
But the landscape draws our eyes, as you can see.
Absolutely.
And we get greater performance. So it was just interesting because we're assuming, oh, they're all going to these deeper links, and they're not actually doing it, but it is driving conversion.
There's also the bonus of search that a lot of people don't talk about. In some ways, it is a branding medium because sometimes there are, it's impressions, even if people aren't clicking on it. Now, so this is interesting. This is the first of the ones we're going to go over. And site links is important because the ability, in a lot of cases, mobile searches tend to be out and about, higher intent, lower funnel. So the specificity to the search is often something that you need to meet halfway with things that are more than just bring me to the home page.
Right.
And I see two levels to that. One being, SEO strength and having just kind of richer information there, but also what I like to call HO, which is human optimization, and leaving people with the actual results that match their intent with a deep link into a website, not necessarily just a kind of general approach.
Right. And because of where we are today with folks interacting so much with the internet, there are so many more ways that companies can drive lifetime value. And so it's not just around driving the click and the purchase, but it's also about making sure people understand what kind of social channels you have, what type of mobile content is there. So if they're on their phone, you're actually driving them to that. What kind of deals you have. And so then it just, again, as you mentioned, just helps to drive overall awareness as well as driving the right type of consumer behavior.
And 10 to 15% CTR boost for those that done this. So good proof point there. Next up, click to call. This is a point that resonates with me. I do a lot of writing and analysis on this, and BI Kelsey expects call volume to businesses from mobile search to reach 72 billion by 2018. It's right now about close to half that, just because of the very logical handoff from search to call. What are you guys finding with this?
Could you? I think there's one more. There's a build.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure we're talking right.
There's a few of them. Go for it.
So as far as folks calling from search, whether or not they're clicking and calling or just seeing that number there when they search, it's a great way to make sure they're engaging with you. Because as I mentioned before, if they don't see your phone number there, they're going to leave. I've done it myself numerous times when I'm driving in my car and I'm searching, though I'm really at a stoplight. I admit sometimes I do that. Sometimes I would just want to get a phone number really quickly. And so if I don't see it, I'm just going to move on with my day and probably lose.
Now, back to the human optimization, I noticed there's a subtle point on this slide where the phone number in that screenshot is actually a local area code and exchange. And the studies I've seen show that rather than an 800 number, there's a little more trustworthiness or veracity to a number that has like where I am.
It is.
Go ahead.
No, that we see the same thing.
And it's great for multi-location businesses. So the right closest one shows up wherever you happen to be.
The local place.
Yep, absolutely. And clearly the performance deltas you can see on this slide from the proof points. So where are we now? Oh, sorry, we went too far. No, that's right, call tracking. So in addition to driving the calls, you're providing the tools for users to see the ROI. I'm sorry, the advertisers to see the ROI. Anything to mention here before we move on?
No, I think in general, just the story that we've all been hearing for years is really making sure as a business that you understand exactly what you need to be tracking and that you are tracking that.
That you're tracking it is key here.
Yep, and a lot of businesses we're finding, or a lot of high value categories, really want the phone to ring. Autos, professional services, insurance and travel, call centers.
Healthcare,
and they'll pay
is a big one.
and they'll pay a premium as well.
We see like attorneys, that's a gigantic one popping right now. And so, but having that number is big.
Yep, and tomorrow we're running a session on call monetization, so that's a good preview. Location extensions. This is another big topic, of course, where performance deltas can be seen in click-through rates and other conversions when things are targeted properly towards someone's location, and it's very logical why. What would you say is the strategy here in terms of providing that for advertisers?
Well, so again, it's really just enabling advertisers to get as much information into the ad as possible. It's getting the right information in front of the right customer at the right time in the right place. And so we're just getting that much more specific with it and targeted.
And here again, you see calls and directions as great calls to action for that kind of intent in that situation, and the clear proof point in 15% CTR lift when this is executed. I like this slide too, an extension of that same point of the actual kind of targeting, the geo-targeting that you enable, which kind of the traditional method is a circle, but sometimes you need something more complex in terms of targeting different demographics or user bases or neighborhoods, or the neighborhood polygons you're able to form. I think just provide much more granularity to the targeting.
The targeting is a tricky one. Not tricky, I mean, to your point, it's very important, but that's where we spend a lot of time with our advertisers, really making sure that they're nailing this and getting the accurate targeting down for the performance.
And something that comes into this too, not just where the ad shows up, but what it contains. So playing with the ad copy sometimes is important, right? Where are we now? Oh, app downloads. This is a big one. And I think we talk about Facebook a lot, and Facebook, 60% of their overall ad revenues is from mobile, and that's like $7 billion. Most of that is app install ads. And of course, there are brand advertisers, a lot of people where the call to action they want is to download the ad. So it's great you're providing this. Any learnings or strategies to impart about doing this?
I think in general, every business is different, so different businesses are going to find different kind of value out of this. But we, obviously, we want to be as nimble and as relevant as possible to the different types of businesses out there. So again, this is a great way to engage with customers to drive customer lifetime value. So
sure. Well, we're out of time. We need to move on. Any final words for the audience? How you can work with Bing? Anything like that?
Well, if you're not working with us already, you definitely should be. And so make sure, with mobile, obviously you've been hearing about it all today. And so hopefully we're able to bring some more value to you. But lots of great things going on at Microsoft, lots of amazing stuff happening in the industry, and excited.
And thanks for illustrating that for us in great detail in these slides. Those types of visuals and details are often missing when we're talking about mobile. Everyone's talking about how great it is, but the question of how is often missing.
Exactly.
So we appreciate you walking us through that.
The how. So.
Okay, join me in thanking Kelly and Ken.
Thank you.